We're blending with your loved one in spirit to help give messages and information to you. We become aware of what their need is as we blend with your soul or move the information to you to help you with whatever your need is in that moment. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast, where practical spirituality meets real life. Hello, and I'm your host, Sheetal Story, a psychic medium, grief support counselor, professional astrologer, human design reader, and a law of attraction master coach. With my unique blend of spiritual and practical tools, I am here to help you align with your soul-led purpose and ignite a life that sets your soul on fire. In this podcast, we are going to explore the principles of energy, astrology, spirituality, and psychology to help you heal your grief and create an aligned life and business from the inside out. Whether you are looking to deepen your intuition, understand your cosmic design, or transform your life and business to be more in alignment with who you are meant to be, this podcast is for you. Join me each week for insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories that will guide you on your journey to living your very best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Let's dive into this week's episode and see what juicy topic I have in store for you and help you on your journey of transformation, healing, and growth. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast. Hello, and today we are going to talk about mediumship. That is a word that I had never heard before until about 15 years ago. And to be fair, I want to give props where props is due. I want to say, maybe about 15, 20 years ago, my very first medium I ever used to follow on TV was John Edward. And, the OG of the mediumship world. He used to have a show called Crossing Over. And I had the privilege of meeting John Edwards at a VIP event here in Edmonton. And he's a really good medium, but he's a no-nonsense guy, right? He kind of spits it out. He tells you what it is and he moves on. He's not really kind of caring or loving about the way that he delivers things. He's just very matter-of-factly, which is very much him. I followed him for a long time. I was fascinated with his method. But one of the things I noticed when I went to see him, because I started to do research as I started to become a medium of how did these mediums work? What did they look like? What am I experiencing, right? And with John Edward, when he came in, his aura went through the roof. Aura is your energetic field. So I have the ability to see aura and energy around people. And I noticed when he first came in, he was sort of talking to us and then he started to work and his auric field literally touched the roof and filled the space. And I went, wow. How does he do that? Right. I was like, I don't know. I don't think I do that. It's hard to see your own, auric field. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the next medium that I went to see was Teresa Caputo. And for me, I think it was Teresa Caputo that really sort of opened this part of me up after I had my youngest child, who's now 14, in 2024. There is this gift that opened up back in me. Now, as a child, I had the ability to see dead people and see energy fields around people, but I started to get a lot of nightmares, and I kept having the same nightmare over and over and over again as a child. And the nightmare was that something was trying to come and take my brother away. So my brother is 5 years younger than me, and I pretty much raised him and looked after him and helped him ride a bike and taught him how to read and write. And he's my dolly. I looked after him. I love him so much. Shout out to Krish. And when I was little, I kept seeing this, entity thing. I could just feel it. It was not good, wanting to come and take him away. And then at the end, I would get down on my hands and knees and I would pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. And at the end, this light would shine and this man in a white suit would step forward. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I would grab my brother and I would run and then I would wake up. And I kept saying to my mom, I keep having this dream over and over and over again. My mom is a spiritual healer. And she said, if these gifts are too much for you, you just close the door, just close the hatch on the top of your head and it will shut off, and tell spirit you're not open, you're not available to them, to go away. So I was like, okay. I did that. And the age of 9, I did that, and everything shifted in my life. And so for me, that experience with spirit when I was young was fine. They never really bothered me, but it was more so this dream. And I sort of associated all with it being quite scary. And so I went to university, moved out, married the man of my dreams, moved to Vancouver. And I was back home visiting one summer random time. And my parents had moved to a new place. They'd sold their house, and in our culture, which is East Indian, we have the dead wall. There's the wall that we hang all of the pictures of our loved ones who have crossed into spirit. And it's usually in our room of worship, or our God room, as we call it, where we'll have our statues and we do our prayers and all the things. And so there's this dead wall. So my mom never had one. We never had a God room per se when we lived in our smaller house. Earlier in our lives. And so when I went to go visit my mom and dad, they had the dead wall up, and I'm familiar with many of them, but one guy on the wall stood out, and that guy was the guy in the white suit. And I'm like, Mom, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And she's like, that's my dad. And her dad passed away long before I was born, complications due to diabetes, and he's on the wall. And I'm like, Mom, that's the guy in my dreams. That's the guy in the white suit. And my mom said, of course it is. It's like, I didn't know who it was. It was your dad coming every time to watch over us and to keep us safe. Had I known that, what a difference that would have made to me as a child. But I didn't know. I've never met him. My mom never talked about him. We didn't have any pictures up. He had passed long before I was born. And then my mom told me a story that when I was born, they had a crib in the other room, and my parents were asleep in their room. And she said, one night I heard you giggling, which is kind of strange because we were in that house. I was quite still a very, very small baby, under the age of 6 months old. But she said, I could hear you kind of giggling. And I got up and I walked to your room, and I could smell the frangipani. So frangipani in our culture is the plumeria flower. So that's what it's known as here in the Western world. We call it the frangipani. And frangipani we always put in our hair. It's considered a very holy flower, and it symbolizes spirit, transcendence, healing. It's a beautiful flower, and it's the white flower with the yellow on the inside petals, and they smell beautiful. You see them a lot in Hawaii, and they're in Hawaiian leis. And this frangipani flower, when my grandfather was passed away, in our culture they cremate, and so he was very devoted. He was very pious man, and so they created a temple to his favorite deity in Hinduism in Malaysia. And there, where the temple is, a frangipani tree grows. So frangipani is very much associated with my grandfather. And so she said she walked into the room, she saw me giggling, and she could smell the frangipani, and she knew that her father had blessed me. And I thought that was so beautiful. And I still feel him around from time to time. It's been many, many years. So I do feel like he has reincarnated, but his higher self has still stayed present. And that higher self continues to guide me. And if you notice if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the little logo. But in my business, the logo is the frangipani flower that was created for me by a brander when I started. So that flower means a lot to me. So in mediumship, going back to this idea of spirit and being able to see spirit, we are tethered to spirit by love. Right. So this is that ability for all of us to feel our own loved ones. You don't need a medium to help you and be the intermediary. A medium is just a channel that's able to speak for spirit on their behalf to you. So they're an emissary or an ambassador for the spirit world, and they're able to speak and convey messages of love, evidence, and understanding that your loved ones that consciousness still exists. And mediumship itself it has been around, I think, for a very, very long time without it being actually like deemed as such. But spiritualism, which is a religion that was founded in 1848, so a relatively younger religion, their ministers are all ordained ministers, are all sanctioned and certified mediums. So all of the teachers I've had, with the exception of one, has been a spiritualist minister or a spiritualist tutor that teaches, and they have a philosophy around it. There's been a lot of study, a lot of channeling. If you're familiar with Edgar Cayce, Edgar Cayce was a channel that channeled a lot of information around science and technology, and it's just amazing when you start to really go down the rabbit hole of all this information and how it's corroborated, right? Evidential mediumship is about showing that truth, that this exists, right? How would we know? And one of the things I really love about the tutors that I have learned from is they're very, very talented, yes, but they're committed to mediumship and the sanction of it, the sanctity of it, not sanction, but the sanctity of it, but also the legitimacy of it, right? To prove this exists. Not to really prove to anybody, because we're not trying to prove, but it's more so this giving you enough evidence to make you think, I wonder how she knew that. I wonder, no one else would know that. How do you know that? I get that all the time. How did you know that? And I said, well, your loved one told me, or your loved one showed me, or your loved one made me feel it. And so that is, how you can't make this stuff up, right? So true evidential mediumship is, I feel like I have your mother here. You understand she'd passed away from a heart attack, and you would have been there with her at the time of her passing. She willed to you diamond earrings, which you're not wearing at this time, but you do have it in your pocket. How would I know that? Right? Only you would know that. I don't know. I didn't have something that's not on Google. You can Google that. So there's so much evidence there. More so, I think what's a really great mediumship reading is when you have a session where the medium is telling you a story of a great experience or memory that you had with your loved one, because that's not anywhere. That's not on Facebook. That's not on Instagram. That kind of story holds such an important piece of their life story. Like, your legacy is your story. That's it. Right? Unless you were an actor or a singer that you left some sort of media behind, your legacy is the stories that your family will tell. And your first passing away, your first transition, or your first death is when you take your last breath. Your last death is when they stop telling stories about you. So the way that we keep our loved ones alive is through their stories, through that sharing, right? And a really good mediumship reading is when we're sharing about the loved one from a place of them telling the story about how this affects you. I remember when I taught you how to play baseball, and you still have the glove that I gave you. And I know that you just gave that glove to your grandson, and I want to thank you for doing that. That kind of stuff. Like, that story moves my heart. That's the kind of mediumship I like to give. Not the secret password is, and the story, this is in your pocket and you have a code name. That stuff is more so like proving that spirit exists. And yes, I like that. I mean, I like to prove that spirit exists in terms of, again, not proving per se to like show you that it's real. I want to show you that your loved one is still here and give you enough to think about that you start to question your beliefs previously, right? To just sort of say, how would she know that? And maybe this is true. And then every time I feel my mom, maybe this is truly my mom. Half the time that's what I do is I give people permission to believe themselves, to know what they're experiencing is true and real. That's not bad. We are trained to say to ourselves, this isn't real. We shouldn't believe this. This is delusional. And I even know some psychologists and therapists that'll say, you're not actually seeing your loved one. You're just making that up in your mind, or that's helping you to move through it. And I will say that's BS. you are actually seeing your loved one. You're feeling them around you. You're smelling their perfume. You can't make that stuff up, right? When you think about them, you call them to you. So, mediumship is the connection to our loved ones in spirit by someone who is not connected to that loved one. So, we all have the ability to feel our own loved ones because they're tethered to us by love, right? That love is everlasting, and that love lasts many lifetimes. So, we have soul family. There's some people that you will meet that you're like, I feel like I've known you before. That is soul family. The souls have met before, and they have come into incarnation after incarnation to have an experience with each other, to help them learn from each other, right? You are the lesson for someone else as much as someone else is a lesson for you. So you will have lessons from souls that are not in your soul family, and you will have lessons from souls that are in your soul family. And if you have a history with the soul person, so let's say you've had many lifetimes with someone and they were a tyrant or you were a tyrant, then you will have a lifetime in which you will try to heal that. Many lifetimes. That's not just done in one lifetime. We call those soul contracts. So a soul contract is when you have an agreement with another soul to learn a potent life lesson. So they're coming in to help you learn a life lesson. A really great example of this is learning self-worth. So in my previous earlier years, there was a lot of friends that I had friendships with, that, friends, quote unquote, that I had friendships with in elementary and junior high school and even high school, that they would say that we were friends. I thought we were friends. And then behind my back, they would say I was a leech. I wasn't a good person. They were just pitying me. And so there was a lot of these friendships that I was calling in to help me learn about self-worth and being a friend that is worthy of having friends that are there for me, right? And that was a life lesson that I continue to learn, that comes up for me to see in new ways with every level that I ascend to. So that friendship life lesson and all the souls that came in to help me learn that, I always send so much gratitude and blessings to them, because every experience taught me about myself. And they were reflecting back to me my own low self-esteem. So the more that I shored up my own self and understood I'm a really great friend. Man, I come with gifts. I come with so many gifts as your friend. I'm a psychic friend that helps you see around corners, but I also call out BS, right? So I'm not sort of the easiest friend to have. And you definitely cannot gossip with me, because I'll be like, well, tell me why that bothers you, or tell me why you want to talk about that person, or what about them really is injurious to you. What about them is triggering you? That's the word I'm looking for. So that is friendship wound that I had to heal. And that was one of my soul lessons. And all the souls that came in to help me heal that, I'm so thankful for them. I've come to a place in my soul journey that I'm thankful for that. And the friends that I have in my life now are fantastic. They are wonderful, and they reflect the qualities and experiences that I want to have. They're on journeys that I find are exciting, and I'm excited to see where they go. So that is a soul family. So many of those friends that I have had are soul family. They feel like I've known them before. So it's been wonderful to reconnect. And you're going to meet people that are in your soul family, like that you haven't met yet, right? Like there's soul family en route to meet you in your life. You still haven't met all the people that are going to love you yet. I love that saying. I don't know where I heard it, but that's just a little reminder of soul family. And soul family can be, most likely is, your parents, your siblings, and your children. Not all of them will be soul family. Some of them will be, but if they're in your close circle, they likely will be in your soul family. So that experience then in mediumship, as we channel spirit that has crossed over, we give proof of life after passing, and we're giving that proof that their love is continuing on after they've taken their last breath. And you think about it for you, if you were to take your last breath today, would you just be off on your reincarnation journey? Okay, I'm done. No, you would actually want to be there to let your kids know you're okay, to let your husband or spouse know that you made it okay, you're fine, you're no longer in pain, whatever it is. And all the decisions that they made were perfect. Everything that happened in life was perfect for what you needed to learn and what you wanted to experience. We have free will as a soul living this human experience, and we have choices, right? If you have an opportunity to heal, like I could have a choice where I continue to hate all those women that have hurt me in the past, right? But I decided to go on a healing journey and realize all these people were teaching me about something that was actually inside of me. They were reflecting back to me how I didn't feel like I was enough. So I had to heal that part of me that felt that. And then I no longer attracted people who are like that into my life, right? So they taught me that. I had to choose to go on that healing journey. But you can choose not to, right? And I'm sure all of you listening know people who didn't choose the healing path. They chose the double down path. They chose to blame everyone else in their life path instead, right? And so they will have time to learn that lesson again if they pass away, transition to the spirit world without having had that experience of forgiveness, of acceptance, of love. There's many different lessons that we learn in this lifetime. So that loved ones in spirit will come to help us heal, will come to let us know they're there, will come to let us know, especially when we're missing them, they will feel that and they come to you. And so I get this question a lot as a medium who reads only online. I don't read for clients in person anymore. I used to read for people in person before COVID. And now I just find reading online is so much easier through Zoom because I can fit in more clients throughout the day. I don't have to have them in my house, and they can record the sessions. There's so much efficiency with it that I actually really love reading online. And there is a question that I get all the time is, but how can you feel them if I'm not in the room with you? And I said, because you're judging them by being a human. They're not a human anymore. They're a spirit, they're energy. So as a spiritual being having a human experience, you can only be in a physical body in one place at one time, right? You cannot be in multiple places at multiple times. That is not possible. Your molecules, your physicality must only be in one space at one time. When you step into the world of energy, energy can be in multiple places at multiple times. Time is not the way it is here in this physical world. Time is linear in this physical world. In energy, all time is present. All time is happening simultaneously. I know that's a little bit much to get your head wrapped around, and we might do another podcast on that. But they do not have to obey the rules of time and space. That's why spirit can sort of experience or see where you're going to go or what you're going to have experienced. But if you have free will, you do have free will. If you have a choice to make, that choice can split off into multiple timelines, right? If you're making a choice, there's multiple timelines there. So that feels like we're going into multiverse, metaphysics kind of stuff. But just know that spirit does not have to be in one time at one place. It can be in multiple times in multiple places. So if you and a sibling are missing your mom can actually be comforting both of you at the same time, even though you're not in the same room. So it's the same thing that works with mediumship. If you are online with me, I can feel your loved one and they are actually in the room with you where you're at. And I've even had this experience where spirit has said, I'm hugging my daughter right now and this is how it feels. And I could feel warmth on my shoulders. And I said, your mom is hugging you right now and she's showing me that it's warmth on your shoulders. And she said, that's crazy. I just got this warm kind of rush down my shoulders and I thought, I wonder if that's mom. And it was. It's wild that she even had that experience and spirit showed us that. So that showed that spirit can be in two places at once. And I've had that multiple times with readings. So you do not have to be in the space and place, the same time and place as your medium. And I can even think about you and tap into your energy and give you a reading based on wherever you're at in your life. That is something I've had to do through my training and my certifications. Yes, I had to pass certifications that said, I see dead people. And I had to pass tests with people who gave feedback on me, who knew what the medium knew, what was happening, who the person I was reading, what they needed. And I passed the test. I gave them the reading that they needed. I connected with the loved one that was there. That all happened. So yeah, I've been tested. I passed the test multiple times. Was it unnerving? Yeah, it was very unnerving, but it showed that spirit always shows up for you, right? They love you and they know what you need. So when you go for a mediumship reading, the spirit that can help you with your need will come to the reading. So, for example, if you're struggling with your business and your uncle was a really good businessman, he's going to come to the reading to help you, of course, in spirit, right? Your uncle in spirit will come to talk about business and how to help you and what he would do in his life as a business person. But if you're wanting to hear from your mom, who's never run a business in her life, then you're not going to hear from her. She might come later to say, I love you, but she's not the one with the business advice anyways. It would be your uncle to help you. So sometimes we cannot control, as a medium, I cannot control who comes to the reading. I just know that the spirit that has the greatest need to support you in whatever you're going through and is tethered to you by love will come to that reading. We just don't have randos, coming in. This is people who are connected to you by love. So mediumship is such a loving act. And as a medium, what we do, we are energetic beings having this human experience, and your loved one actually is an energetic being as well, without a body, right? So as their energy comes to be around my field, they blend with me. Their energy blends with me, and I start to feel what they feel like. I start to get glimpses of something, or I'll have a headache, or all of a sudden I'll smell perfume, or they'll get my attention in some way, and I become aware of them. And the more that I blend with them, the more I become aware of the facets of their life and the experiences that I need to talk about to help you in your life. So that blending is what mediumship is. It's not possession. They don't take over my body. They're not talking through my voice. It's kind of like ghost, I guess. But there is a form of mediumship called trance mediumship, where you have a very strong understanding with spirit and a strong trust, and they more so kind of influence you to such a degree that it actually can change your face and your voice to be more like them, like ghost a little bit, not quite. So that involves a high degree of trust and a high degree of talent. And people who are trans mediums tend to develop their gifts as they develop their mediumship gifts. Sometimes they start off as trans mediums. Other times they develop their mediumship and then realize that they're actually trans mediums. So it's kind of like specializing in your violin. If you're a violinist, then you're going to play the violin and learn. And then you realize, no, actually, I like to play, I don't know, a special violin. That's not the greatest example because I don't know a lot about violins, but you get my drift. So trans mediums will then take on the characteristics and traits, and they're highly trained, and they have to meditate a lot to have that trust and to understand how to move their energy out of the way. So it's a pretty cool gift. I don't have that gift myself. I'm really fine with being an evidential medium. I am not interested in being a trans medium myself. But that's how mediumship works. We're blending with your loved one in spirit to help give messages and information to you. We become aware of what their need is as we blend with your soul or move the information to you to help you with whatever your need is in that moment. So a good medium will meet the need of your soul in that moment in time. And whether that's a psychic or a mediumship reading, they will know what you need and they will meet that need. So it's something that we become aware of right away when I'm, in your energy field. I can already just tell, oh, you're having a problem with your family. You're having a problem with your career. You're having a problem with your significant other. You're having a problem with your health. Like there's just areas in our life that we have problems, and no one comes to see me because they're happy. They come to see me because they're going through hard things. And I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I love helping people. In fact, in high school, I was called the bad weather friend by a few of my friends because when things got bad, they found me and I would help them out, right? And then I wouldn't see them when life was good, which was fine by me too. So really interesting, how our traits as children and youngsters start to form our purpose and mission. We already see those clues early on in our life. So, as a medium, I blend with spirit. I love to help give messages of love to my clients. And I think more so, I've discovered over the past few years that I really love doing it in grief counseling sessions. And spirit will come in at the right and perfect time once we've established healing and some foundations and are helping the person along in their grief. And then spirit will just show up at the right and perfect time to give a reading and let them know that they see their healing, they're there with them, and everything is well. And it can be so incredibly healing. Like it can just amplify your healing and expedite you, knowing that your loved one is truly on the other side. Well and peaceful and following you on your journey and supporting you with love. And remember, you are tethered to them by love. So you can call them in anytime you think about them, anytime you're looking at pictures of them. They live with you in your heart in energy, right? So they don't live at the gravesite where they were buried. They don't live at their urn. They don't live in their ashes. Their physical vessel is not where they live. The energy is tethered to you by love for your whole life until you take your last breath and they meet you as you transition into spirit. So I hope that's helped you illuminate some things, understand how mediumship works. If you have any questions, please reach out. I would love to answer them. There's always these questions. If you have any that you want to send to me, gives me great ideas for future episodes as well. So thank you for being here, and I send their love to you. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Story of Spirit podcast. I hope you found inspiration and practical insights to help you align with your soul-led purpose and live a life that sets your soul on fire. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and please share it with an aligned friend that you know can really get the most out of this podcast. Your support helps us reach more listeners and continues to provide valuable content. I sincerely appreciate every share, and it is how most people find me. It is because caring people like you share me with them at the right and perfect time. For more resources, insights, and to connect with our community, please visit www.sheetalstory.com or follow us on Instagram at sheetalstory. Remember, your journey to more alignment and vibrant life is just the beginning, and I am here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep shining your light. This is Sheetal Story signing off from the Story of Spirit podcast. Here's the legalese it's required by our lawyers. This podcast and the YouTube channel represents the opinions of Sheetal Story and her guests to the show. The content should not be taken as medical, psychological, or financial advice. This series is informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional, your mental health dream team, your financial advisor, or anyone else that's an expert in the field in where you are thinking of making big choices in your life.